Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Dave. Today I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, how you doing this fun and lovely evening, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm ready to go ripping and roaring into this new year, my friend.
How about ripping and roaring into making a pact with this new warlock?
Oh, that's a thing we can do. So yeah, we are here to talk about the new Warlock for the 2025 rules, and there's definitely some changes I like. Uh, some of the I would say two of the primary subclasses got really overhauled. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not well, kind of in a good way, but also mechanically in a good way. Thematically, I'm not so sure with the Archfey, but I'm all on board with what they did with the Pact of the Great Old One.
Sure,
And,
sure.
yeah. So with
Uh,
that, I guess we
so,
can just jump into it, right?
so I would say conceptually they've made a little bit of uh, clarification on warlock, and they kind of you know they teased out because warlock used to, like, okay, you get your pact at first level and you could make the type of pact later. Well, now, like, you don't get your actual pact until third level, so like you can technically play that concept of, I don't know who I'm serving. So they kind of
Mm,
work that in to the lore of, well, you're searching for power and you've made a deal.
yeah.
But it could be you've made contact with an entity, or you read some kind of dark tome, or any of these other kind of things. And they kind of extrapolate it further once you get into the specifics of the different subclasses. But I like this little twisty, turny lore aspect of the class that, if it existed before, I didn't really pay attention to it or notice it. But I like the wording here, and I try and pay attention to that because going forward, this is how the class is being treated. So I wanna make sure I know what's being said there before we get into the actual mechanics of classes.
All right. So, but with that out of the way, Eldritch Invocations got a huge change, right? Used to wait to the
Mm-hmm.
second level to get them. Now you get it first. They used to they go from 1 to 10, and they used to go from 2 to 8. Only five of them are available at first level. Three of which are pack boons, which is a completely different change we can get into in a minute. But apparently you can have multiple pack boon invocations now. I don't see
Mm-hmm.
anything saying you can't double down. But other than that, other than with those changes and some tweaking to the invocations themselves, that's the same. Pack magic, same. Otherworldly patron moved to third level from first level. Second level, though, we get a new feature called magical cunning.
Yeah, so you can perform an esoteric rite for 1 minute. At the end of it, you regain expended packed magic spell slots, but no more than a number equal to half your maximum rounded up. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. So you get this at second level, which means, like, okay, you spend a minute, you're going to get one back. And once you get to 11th level, you can be able to get two, and that's it. So
Sort of.
it's well,
But yeah, but it's an improvement on where they were before, right?
sure.
It's an
It's
improvement.
it's had
Yeah, it was an improvement on where they were before, and you still get your spell slots back on a short rest. So
yes,
if as long as you have a minute, but you don't have
an hour.
an hour, you can get some spell slots back. Um, I think I might want
So
to handle that differently going forward, but
the warlock has always been this outlier when it comes to spellcasters. Um, you know, they're not quite a full caster, even though they get technically access to a full range of spells. But your options for how many spells a day you can cast is always much less than what a typical caster can do,
Right.
unless you're resting of every time you fight.
Yeah, and they are their power level for spells is set to maximum. They only have and the knob is broken on 10, right? That's all they have, right? They only cast at the highest level spell they can cast. So if you use lower level spells, they're automatically upcast it, which can be nice.
But when you're doing things like hex,
Yeah,
that it doesn't, or I don't know about in this iteration, but previously casting hex as a fifth level spell doesn't do anything extra.
yeah, they last
You know.
longer. It's like Hunter's Mark.
Okay, so lasting longer is helpful, but I don't know. To me, I want more bang. Um,
Yeah, well, so let's see when they let, but like at a certain point they last 8 hours, right? So like as long as you keep concentrating on it, in theory, um, you could, you would be able to, um, call, keep it going for several encounters, I guess.
right. And sure, but like I know that there are DMs out there that are angsty enough to be like, okay, well, I'm going to find a way to break your concentration just to mess up, the use of the spell slot. Just
Yeah,
because some DMs do that.
they do. So at your maximum, your hex lasts all day, 24 hours. Again,
Okay.
like you said, I mean, the duration starts at an hour, and now it goes up to 4, then 8, then 24. Which again, anything that keeps the spellcasting going for the Warlock is super helpful because of the fact that they need that. They don't have many spell slots to play with, especially early levels. Like you're stuck in.
Right.
You get the 2 fairly quick, but you're stuck there for a long time.
Yeah. 11 levels where you get a third spell slot.
Yeah. So pack boons, as we mentioned, they're now invocations. So at first level you can actually technically use those. Ninth level you get a new feature. So if we want to check that out.
So this one I actually really liked, because I feel like warlocks want to, as the thing is called, contact patron. In the past, you usually contacted your patron through intermediaries. Now you can communicate directly. You always have the contact other plane spell prepared. With this feature, you can cast a spell without expending a spell slot to contact your patron, and you automatically succeed on the spell's savings throw. Once you cast a spell with this feature, you can't do so in this way again until you finish a long rest. So basically, every day you can be like, buddy, what's up?
Yeah. Or keep annoying them with their spell slot.
Yes, because it's always prepared. So even after the fact, you can still be like ping, ping, ping.
Every hour on the hour, you could just hit them. This is like this freaking. Uh,
Why so silent?
Mystic Arcanum, 6th through ninth level spells. It starts at 11th, ends at 17th. That's the same. And then we have Eldritch Mastery, which my notes say it's mostly the same.
So I don't even remember Elder's Mastery the same, because I don't think it could be, because we got Magical Cunning as a new thing.
Yeah, well, so now Matt, so now the way it works is when you use your Magical Cunning feature, you regain all expended pack magic spell slots instead of half. So you're just going to get all 4 of them back.
So, it's going to get you 2 additional slots once a day, for a 20th level ability where you have a character that's getting all their spell slots on a short rest. I think this one is weak sauce in comparison to other 20th level abilities.
Yeah, I feel now if it were to be like, oh, you get all your spell slots back, no action once a day, then I'd be like, okay, that it's still a little weak, but better.
Yeah.
But as is, yeah, it is. It is one of the weakest. It's not Ranger level weak. But it is one of the weaker capstone abilities. So basically, it used to do the same thing. It just didn't involve magical. It was just
Okay.
spend a minute, get it back. You could do that
Uh,
once a
I,
day.
I mean, honestly, take any second level class ability and double it, and it's not going to be world shattering.
Yeah.
You know? Uh, so for a 20th level ability, I'm not impressed.
Do better, Watts. Do.
I mean, I like getting magical cunning at second level, and it's helpful, but uh,
So next up, subclasses. Archfey.
so are
Archfey.
we? What about the invocations? Are we going through them at all? Because
We'll see how much time we
I,
got
I
at the
was
end,
gonna.
and we can circle back.
Okay, because there was definitely one that I don't remember seeing before. Um,
I didn't see any new ones, but there's definitely changes that I like.
okay. All right,
So
so scroll down to subclasses. We got the Archfey.
yeah, Archfey spells. They get one more spell than they used to, it being a good one, Misty Step. Before they capped out at 10, now it caps out at 11.
Well, they get Misty Step because this subclass
Yeah, there's a
is built
reason.
entirely off of that.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
you need to have it because you are going to do this all the time.
yes.
So you get Calm Emotions, Fairy Fire, Misty Step, Phantasmal Force, Sleep, Blink, Plant Growth, Dominate Beast, Greater Invisibility, Dominate Person, and Seeming. A lot of great spells in here. A lot of useful stuff that can be done.
So their first ability to get is Step of the Fae at third level, and it's a new fate feature that replaces Fey Presence, which allowed you to frighten or charm creatures in an area, but now you don't do that anymore.
Now you can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot a number of times, equal to your Charisma modifier, and you get them all back on a long rest. In addition, whenever you cast that spell, you can choose one of the following effects: Refreshing Step, immediately after you teleport, you or one creature you can see within 10 feet gains 1d10 temporary hit points, or Taunting Step, creatures within 5 feet of the space you left must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or have disadvantage on attack rolls against creatures other than you until the start of your next turn. So you have it automatically prepared, and you can cast it a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. And every time it's used, you gain one of these things. So,
Yeah, this is way better than what they had before. I mean, it's kind of less thematic than what they had before for Fae,
hmm.
but mechanically, it's way more powerful. And you're talking about essentially adding 3 second level slots to a Warlock who's already starving for spell slots, and it's going to max out at 5 spell slots. I mean, you can only use it in a specific way, but one, the specific way is actually really good, and two, that spell is getting buffed every time you use it. So, you know, yeah, what can I say? It's good.
And like I said, it builds off of there because at level 6, you're going to get Misty Escape. You can cast Misty Step as a reaction in a response to taking damage. In addition, the following effects are now among your Step of Fae options: Disappearing Step. You have the invisible condition until the start of your next turn or until immediately after you make an attack roll, deal damage, or cast a spell. Or Dreadful Step. Creatures within 5 feet of the space you left or the space you appear in, your choice, must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC or take 2d10 psychic damage. So you could just appear amongst the enemies and be like, boom, and cause all this psychic damage.
Yeah, you can do that, or you can be invisible. Which before it was the same name, but you only had the invisibility option, essentially.
Mhm. Yeah. So like I said, building off of all of these Misty Step things is pretty nice.
So, Beguiling Defenses at 10th level, same name, different features.
Uh, you are now immune to the charmed condition. Immediately after a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to reduce the damage you take by half, rounded down, and you can force the attacker to make a wisdom saving throw against your DC. On a failed save, the attacker takes psychic damage equal to the damage you take. Once you use this reaction, you got to wait a long rest, or you use a packed magic spell slot to restore it.
So,
So
it's
I
not
like it.
bad. It's not bad. It used to be, uh, patron teaches you how to turn the mind affecting magic of enemies against him. You are immune to being charmed, and when another creature attempts to charm you, you can use a reaction to attempt to turn the charm back on the creature. The creature must succeed a wisdom saving throw against your warlock spell DC or be charmed for 1 minute or until the creature takes damage. Well, that's a really cool effect. It's also going to have very limited use.
Yes. How often are you going to get charmed that the caster's not going to be able to pass your DC?
Yeah, or you're like constantly waiting for someone to use a charm effect on you, right? Like that may never happen. Where the other thing, you're gonna get to use that.
Level 14, Bewitching Magic. Like I said, almost everything is built off of that Misty Step. So anytime you cast an enchantment or illusion spell using an action and a spell slot, you can cast Misty Step as part of the same action without expending a spell slot. So if you're heavy on the illusion and enchantment within what you're casting here, you're going to additional uses of Misty Step, which is also going to then trigger your your step options.
And they have plenty of options for both enchantment and illusion, hex being amongst them. So, and then there's some other really cool things as well. So you're gonna get a lot of mileage out of that, And
So,
again, for a class that's starving in casting, like this is pretty amazing. Like the limiting factor is going to be how often you can cast spells.
all right. So, calm emotions, phantasmal force, sleep, dominate beast, greater invisibility, dominate person, and seeming all fall into one of those two schools of magic. So you're getting 7 out of your your automatic spells
Hmm.
are ready to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to get an extra feature. And at 14th levels, you still have 6 levels to play with this ability and really maximize its use.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually feel that this 14th level ability is stronger than
Their
the
capstone.
core class's capstone, because you're going to get
Maybe that was
more.
intentional. Like, hey, we're gonna give you this awesome thing now, but you can bite it later. So they used to get dark delirium. You can plunge a creature into an illusionary realm as an action. Choose a creature that you can see within 60 feet. It must make a wisdom save against your warlock spell DC. On a failed save, it is charmed or frightened, your choice, for 1 minute or until your concentration is broken, as if you're concentrating on a spell. This effect ends early if the creature takes any damage. Until the illusion ends, the creature thinks it's lost in a misty realm, the appearance of which you choose. The creature can see and hear only itself, you, and the illusions. Um, and you could do that off of a short or a long rest. So thematically, it is really cool. But ultimately, all you could do is you could lock a creature out for a minute, but now they're safe.
Right.
Not terrible.
So not terrible. Um, but I think this one is going to get more use because it's spreading it out rather than affecting one creature. It's ways to get use of what this core is, and that's you're a blink master.
Yep, you're a nightcrawler essentially. So next up we have the Celestial.
So the Celestial gets a crap ton of spells. You have Aid, Cure Wounds, Guiding Bolt, Lesser Restoration, Light, and Sacred Flames. So you're getting quite a bit. Then Daylight, Revivify, Guardian of Faith, Wall of Fire, Greater Restoration, and Summon Celestial. So not too shabby to be getting 4 spells and 2 cantrips.
And that's the same as it appears in Xanathar's. The only difference is they used to have an ability called bonus cantrips, but it's been just rolled into their spells.
Mhm.
Their healing light is basically you get a pool of d6s that you can spend to heal. You do get a little range on that. That's exactly the same. Uh,
I remember it being half your warlock level, but it's the dice is 1 plus your warlock level.
yeah,
Okay, I I, I don't know why I remember it being differently.
um, yeah, and you can only expend your charisma modifier in dice at a time. Um, then Radiant Soul. Basically, it's the same. They get You get temporary hit points, and they can give temporary hit points, which is nice. So
No, Radiant Soul is you have resistance to radiant damage.
I was looking
And
at
once
celestial
per turn.
resilience.
Yeah, so Radiant Soul, you have resistance to radiant damage, and once per turn, your spell, when a spell you cast deals radiant or fire damage, you can add your charisma modifier to the damage.
And then celestial resistance, or not resistance, it's celestial, what is it? It's resilience.
Resilience.
It's the same as it was. You get temporary hit points. You can give out temporary hit points after a short or long rest, or you use your magical cunning feature. That's the only difference. But they actually get one extra instance where they can use this ability.
Giving the warlock more uses of their abilities. Not going to complain there.
And it also makes that ability better too. So and allows them to be more of a buffer. Searing Vengeance is their capstone ability, and oh my god, did they hit it out of the park with this one? It's so much better.
So when you or an ally within 60 feet is about to make a death saving throw, you can unleash radiant energy to save the creature. The creature regains hit points equal to half its hit point maximum and can end the prone condition on itself. Each creature of your choice that is within 30 feet of the creature takes radiant damage equal to 2d8 plus your charisma modifier, and each has the blinded condition until the end of the turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So you heal them, you get them up. And since you're going to make the death save at the start of your turn, you've got blinded creatures that have just been attacked. And you're on your feet.
Yes. It used to be that it only affected the warlock. Like you could only do this to yourself. And there's very few instances where I'm a fan of that style of ability. It was okay for the half orc because at the low levels, you're probably going to use that, right? But maybe at the high levels too, but you're definitely get some use out of it. But a 14th level ability where basically you have to suck it in order to, use this ability, that's not great. But if the fighter in the front of the fight can go down, and you can be like, no, get back up, you're not done.
We got some Chumbawamba action going on.
Yeah, so that makes it so much better.
So again, another fantastic ability at 14th levels that I think is more powerful than the 20th.
And also, it's not action dependent, is it? The only thing required is a death saving throw. So you're not even
once you're not using a reaction, no. But once you use it, you can't do it again until a long rest.
Yeah.
So you still get it once a day.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you've already counterspelled or done something to, use your reaction,
you get to do the
you
cool
still
thing.
got.
Yeah, I think that's some nice bumps for the celestial.
I would agree. So next up is the Fiend, the Fiend patron.
Yeah, so your spells are pretty much the same. I don't know if you want to go over the spells because you have been.
Sure, we got Burning Hands, Command, Scorching Ray, Suggestion, Fireball, Stinking Cloud, Fire Shield, Wall of Fire, Geese, and Insect Plague.
So thematic. They get Dark One's Blessing at third. It's the same, but it's got a bit of an upgrade.
So when you reduce an enemy to 0 hit points, you gain temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier plus your warlock level. You also gain this benefit if someone else reduces an enemy to 0 within 10 feet of you. So it didn't used to have the if somebody else.
Mm-mm.
So this is nice to be like, all right, I can make this happen, and this is all the time. There's no action requirement. There's no usage, but it's a bump of temporary hit points, so they don't stack with each other. So if you knock somebody down, you get hit, your temporary hit points go away. Your buddy knocks somebody down, you get them right back,
which is nice. You figure you're talking about when you get the ability 6 hit points, and it just goes up from there. Eventually, you're probably getting 25.
Yeah. 25 temporary hit points, you know, is nothing to sneeze at. It's you know, and the fact that it's rechargeable, like go mow through a whole bunch of kobolds.
So, Dark One's Own Luck, basically throw a drop of die 10 on an ability check or a saving throw. And it got upgraded because it used to be you could use it once, but now it's your charisma modifier. So you're using it way
But
more
still
often.
only usable once per roll.
Yeah, yeah.
They saw those dice stackers coming.
10th level, they get fiendish resistance. It is
So
kind of.
choose. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's kind of the same, but it's just like a tiny tweak.
Choose one damage type other than force. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you have resistance to that damage type until you choose a different one with this feature.
So what it used to say is at starting level, you choose a damage type when you finish a short or long rest. Gain resistance to that damage type until you choose a different one for this feature. Damage from damage from magical weapons or silver weapons, ignore those resistance. So if you were to take bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, before it could be overcome with magic or silver, now not so much.
Yeah. So bypass.
Um,
uh, and then I love. I don't think this has been changed. Correct me if I'm wrong,
I will.
but level 14 is hurl through hell.
All right, you want to read it?
Sure. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack roll, you can try to instantly teleport the target through the lower planes. The target must succeed on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. The target disappears and hurtles through a nightmare landscape. The target takes 8 die 10 psychic damage if it isn't a fiend, and it has the incapacitated condition until the end of your next turn. When it returns to a space it previously occupied or the nearest unoccupied space. And you got to finish a long rest to use it again, or use one of your packed magic spell slots to restore it.
So previously, it did a little more damage. It did 10 die 10.
Okay.
Was it 10 die 10? What's it do now? It does
8
8
die
die
10
10.
now.
Yeah, so it did 10 die 10. And then it didn't have the incapacitated condition, which is important because that means that round when they're kind of flying through hell, they can't do anything. They can't buff themselves, they can't heal themselves. They can't teleport, whatever. Plane shift, none of that can happen because they're incapacitated.
Yep.
And before you got it once per long rest.
So no restoration, which that's nice to again be able to use the resources as you see fit. 8 die 10's not small, but once you get to compare that to fifth level spell slots, would you rather have a hurl through hell, or would you rather have a floating fifth level spell?
Yeah, you have options. Well, and also it's after you hit, so
Right.
you could have just slammed them with something, and then you do that to them. The great old one.
So you're getting Awakened Mind, which I've already seen some discussions going on, with this particular, layout. So I like the change that's been made with this.
So if you want to read it, and then I'll read what it was before because
Sure, sure.
it's kind of been nerfed.
Sure. So you can form a telepathic connection between your mind and the mind of another. As a bonus action, choose one creature you can see within 30 feet. You and a chosen creature can communicate telepathically with each other while the two of you are within a number of miles equal to your charisma modifier. To understand each other, you must mentally use a language the other knows. The telepathic connection lasts for a number of minutes equal to your warlock level. It ends early if you use this feature to connect with a different creature.
Before, your alien knowledge gives you the ability to touch the minds of other creatures. You can telepathically speak to any creature you can see within 30 feet of you. You don't need to share a language with the creature if it understand it for it to understand your telepathic utterance. But the creature must be able to understand at least one language. So it's greatly nerfed, but I'm kind of okay with it because of the other things we got going on. You get your
So
you, you
with
get
your spells, You're getting detect thoughts, dissonant whispers, phantasmal force, Tasha's hideous laughter, clairvoyance, hunger of Hadar, confusion, summon aberration, modify memory, and telekinesis.
So, third level, you also get psychic spells, and this is a new feature.
When you cast a warlock spell that deals damage, you can change its damage type to psychic. In addition, when you cast a warlock spell that is enchantment or illusion, you can do so without a verbal or somatic component.
So
So,
now your Eldritch Blast, you can just be lancing them with psychic energy, and
yeah,
your
so
hex
just
can be psychic damage too.
yep, change it to psychic so you can, hit that barbarian or that helmed horror.
And it also now means we have another kind of psionic option, I would
Yes,
say, for our subclass.
yes.
So next up we have Clanvoriant Combatant, which is kind of a new feature that replaces Entropic Ward.
So when you form a telepathic bond with a creature using your awakened mind, you can force that creature to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and you have advantage on attack rolls against that creature for the duration of the bond. And you got to finish a short or long rest to use it again, or use a pack slot.
So I will say the thing that I like is you can now use your awakened mind offensively.
Yes.
I mean, it's a bonus. It's just a bonus action to do it. So you link minds with your the person you're in combat with, and now you're more effective against them. They're less effective against you.
And you get the ability to taunt them directly into their mind.
And you get it once per rest, unless you use a spell slot. So we like those things. So what you used to get, and Traffic Ward is kind of similar. You learn to magically ward yourself against attack or turn an enemy's failed strike into good luck for yourself. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack roll. If it misses you, your next attack against the creature has advantage if you make it before the end of the next turn. So, it's a beefed up version of that, and they tied it back into one of your earlier abilities.
Indeed. Level 10, Eldritch Hex. You always have the Hex spell prepared. When you cast Hex and choose an ability, the target also have disadvantage on saving throws of the chosen ability for the duration.
That's a big
That is
deal.
that's a big deal.
And at 10th level, what spell slot do you have by then? That are you at 5th now?
I don't think so.
Well, 7th is 4. So 9 should be 5.
10th level spell slot is 5th, yes.
So yeah, your hex is going all day long. As long as you don't stub your toe.
As long as you don't stub the toe.
So what did they get? Eldritch Hex, 10th level. So yeah, they just get an extra ability because they also get Thought Shield at 10th level.
Yes.
And they got that before, and it's the same. So they get 2 abilities instead of the 1.
And
And
then level 14, you've got Create Thrall. When you cast Summon Aberration, you can modify it so it doesn't require concentration.
yeah.
If you do so, the duration becomes a minute. The aberration has a number of temporary hit points equal to your warlock level plus your charisma modifier. In addition, the first time the aberration hits a creature under the effect of your hex, the aberration deals extra psychic damage to the target equal to the bonus damage of that spell.
So
So they
you
get a
get
benefit from your hex. I'll deal with it. I like it.
yeah, and you don't have to concentrate on it. Which is probably because you technically wouldn't be able to hex and do that at the same time.
Yes.
The only thing that's kind of sucks about it is you don't get the free casting. As a warlock, basically you're using half your spell slots to pull this off. That would be my only complaint. Like I would like to see them get an extra because compared to the other 14th level ability.
Sure, sure. I mean, it's definitely not as good as the others, but it's not
So
bad.
so jumping into invocations. The one that I wanted to point out was agonizing blast, because now not only not only does this affect agonizing blast, but any of the invocations that beef up your Eldritch Blast are no longer limited to Eldritch Blast. And this was always the one thing I wanted to see,
Mhm.
was they could do it with any damaging cantrip.
Right. So I was looking at Devouring Blade. Did that
Hmm.
exist before?
Powering Blade. Let's see.
Because I don't remember someone else other than the fighter being able to attack more than once at a time, more than twice a turn. That
Well,
was the fighter shtick.
if it does, if it does exist, it's got a different name. It was Thirsting Blade.
No, Thirsting Blade is the first one,
Oh yeah,
which gives
yeah.
you extra attack.
Yep.
Devouring Blade is your Thirsting Blade now confers two
Yeah.
extra attacks with one.
Yeah, that's a new one.
So I looked at that and said,
The other thing too is a lot of the prereqs have been lowered.
mhm.
Before, like, some of them were really high. I'm trying to see. Otherworldly Leap, I think, used to be a ninth. You used to have to be ninth level. Yes. Now you do it at second, and which, you know, if you want to be a Jedi, like, a lot of your invocations can kind of get you there.
Yes.
And some of the restrictions were kind of silly anyway.
Well, what I like best about the invocations now is all of the ones that offer a spell just let you cast it without expending a spell slot. There's none of
Yes.
these you can cast it once. It's you have the invocation, you cast this spell as often as you want, and they even fixed false life or fiendish vigor is you don't need to just keep casting it over and over again until you get the best number. It's you cast it once and you get the maximum number allowed.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
they definitely got some upgrades here.
now I wanted to point out something that I heard another person on YouTube talking about Gaze of Two Minds, uh, and how broken this ability has the capacity to be. Have you heard anything about this one?
I mean, I know it from before, but and I've read them
Okay, well,
all.
so it's the slight wording difference of Gaze of Two Minds now allows for a possible broken combination. So you can use a bonus action to touch a willing creature and perceive through its senses until the end of your next turn. As long as a creature is on the same plane of existence as you, you can take a bonus action on subsequent turns to maintain the connection, extending the duration until the end of your next turn. The connection ends if you don't maintain it. While perceiving through the other creature's senses, you benefit from any special senses possessed by that creature, and you can cast spells as if you were in the same space as the other creature if the two of you are within 60 feet of each other. And that's all well and good until you begin, figuring out how to exploit the situation. And
I
I
mean, I
don't
feel like it adds 60 foot of range on whatever you're doing, or you can cast spells back towards yourself. But I don't
sure.
hardly
So
game
okay,
breaking.
so the situation that I saw was okay, you and insert, let's say rogue. Um, you know, the rogue lets you gaze the two minds.
Hmm.
They then cast invisibility on themselves.
Hmm.
They walk into the room and you cast spells through this invisible person. And since you're casting the spell, not them, the invisibility stays. And anything in the room is just seeing these spell effects going off from no apparent source.
it's pretty niche, but sure. That like they'll see this. Well, depending on what kind of spell it is, right? Like, say, let's go with Eldritch Blast. You're a warlock. How many spells have you freaking got to cast anyway? Um,
Okay. Well, what about what about this? You you begin casting your Eldritch Blast as um a great old one that doesn't require anything, and you're just psychically attacking the things in the room through your invisible components, so therefore there's nothing to actually happen. People are just in the room grabbing their head hurting for no apparent reason.
yeah. Well, I don't know that it would change how the spell looks, right? Like if it's a line effect that like hits
Hmm.
something, like I would say there might be something there, even if it's just like ripples or whatever. Like
So
I think a lot of the things that you would do would give an indication that something's there.
sure, I'm just pointing out what
Yeah.
somebody else has said, and I apologize that I didn't write this down
But either
before.
way, like I'm like kudos to them. They did a thing, but also you can do it back. Like that's how I always look at it. Whatever the players can do, the GM can do too. So
Absolutely. Like, the GM has more options than whatever the players can do. I'm just looking at it as I'm sharing with, you know,
yeah.
those watching that, in case you didn't see this other guy's, video, that I'm sharing the thing that I observed with this particular, very, very niche specific thing. Like, when he did the video, he didn't mention the limitation of having to stay within 60 feet. Or if he did, I
Yeah.
didn't pick up on. But it was definitely one of those things that I'm like, all right, that sounds a little broken. And if it's a little broken, I don't have a problem with it. If it's a lot broken, that's when I have a problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's a lot broken yet, but that's just me. You know how I'm as a GM. I really don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want.
Because again, you know that anything that becomes problematic, you're like, okay, you've done your fun with it. Now I'm going to find a way to unbreak or use it against you, so you stop doing it to me. Like,
It's like certain characters come up with like crazy combos that they start using. Next thing you know, I charm their asses, and they're doing that crazy combo to the party. Um, I think Pack of the Blade got a nice little bump because you can now do necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage, or its normal type.
yeah,
So
I did like that. I don't remember whether like you could just conjure a weapon previously,
yeah,
uh, or if that's a new aspect of it. But like if you don't have a thing, you could just be like, all right, fool, I've got this weapon.
so I'm more curious about things like agonizing blast, right? Uh, where say I don't know, you're a fiend, or no, celestial. You're a celestial. Get your hands on firebolt, or you know what? They get sacred. They get sacred flame. They have sacred flame. You make that your agonizing blast spell, so you get to add your charisma modifier to the spell's damage rolls. But
Mm-hmm.
the damage is radiant damage, so therefore you add your charisma modifier to your damage as well. You get it twice. They're
Oh,
two different features.
that
And I'm like, as a GM, I'm likely to give it to him because I feel like the Warlock is weak as shit anyway. I know this is
sure.
controversial and a lot of people don't agree with me, but thematically, I love the Warlock, but mechanically, I've always thought they were kind of ass.
So at the low levels, when it's +3, I'm like, yeah, you're talking about a sacred flame. That's 7 to 13 points of damage. Ooh, I'm not really all that worried, and especially with sacred flame, it's save or suck.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
But
and
Firebolt.
firebolt's a D10. Uh,
Okay, so
and
it's
if
got to be a Warlock cantrip that deals
right,
damage.
right.
Now, that being said, if you take the Book of Shadows, you can make other things
A
your
warlock.
your
Yeah.
warlock cantrips. And that's
So
where, but again, like I'm like, okay, you just invested a lot of resources to do this.
you're investing resources to do an extra 5 points of damage at the tail end of things. Maybe a little bit more if you found ways to game break your 20,
Yeah.
your 20 cap. It's not earth shattering. Now, if you're adding, you know, 10 points of damage to every single Eldritch Blast that you're doing,
Or firebolt.
you know, well, what I'm saying, like, because Eldritch Blast makes 3 to 4 attack rolls at
Oh
the
no,
tail end.
firebolt's one. Is serious, right? Okay.
Firebolt is 1,
Yep.
so okay, you're rolling 4 die 10 plus 10. Okay, so you're 14 to 50 points of damage as a cantrip. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. How often are you going to get that higher cusp? That extra 5 is just mitigating, the lower rolls and increasing your median. I'm fine. But I would have the problem if you're adding 10 to every single Eldritch Blast, because that's an extra 30 points of damage you're dishing out that round. That or sorry, technically an extra 15
Yeah.
um over top. So, but again, like when you're nickel and diming these little things, how much is that going to impact the end result of your campaign if your warlock is median damage is a little bit higher?
And I think, and I don't think like anyone quite. I think only the celestial one has to add the extra damage, right? I don't think any of the other ones get that. Um, the great old one, they have the ability to turn everything into psychic damage, I believe.
Yep.
But they don't
Yeah.
actually.
Radiant Soul, if you do radiant or fire damage, you can add your charisma modifier um to any of the spell's targets.
Yeah.
Um okay, I'm sorry. That spell's damage against one of the spell's targets. Um so it's once per turn. So with that one, even if you're casting Eldritch Blast as you've somehow found a way to make Eldritch Blast radiant or fire,
Mm,
um, you're still getting it only on one particular roll. But if you got Firebolt, you would be able to do that. Um,
right. And you still just be the one roll. The damage just goes up.
yep. Yeah. So when you look at the specific wording, I'm not worried.
Yeah. It doesn't even, it's not even like they've even made it so that you can't get your hands on Searing Ray, and get the extra damage for each of them. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's pretty well thought out. I feel like the tweaks with the invocations made them way more useful than they were before, and also they're not making you wait till later in the game to get access to jump. I mean,
Right.
as great as game breaking as that ability is. So yeah, I would say I am pretty happy with the changes they made with the warlock, and I would probably play any of these subclasses. I would say of them, the celestial probably would be my least likely to go to. Um, I've always liked the great old one, but I feel like they brought it more in line with um what it should be for power level.
Mhm.
And
I uh
so
I was actually leaning towards Fey or Fiend with this particular read through. Fey probably being my uh my foremost
yeah.
option. Um
Yeah, I mean mechanically that's a really strong option. I will say though, like Fiend they've changed the least, in my
mhm.
opinion. Like even Celestial, which is a lot came out later, has been has been tweaked a bit more than than Fiend, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But Fiend was always kind of a good one, anyways. I mean, it's thematic. But I would say, yeah, it would be a hard decision between Great Old One and Archfey. I've always liked Archfey as a warlock, more thematically, right? Like the if you wanted to play a Padlock, like Oath of Ancients, Archfey was like such a cool combination thematically. I don't know that it was particularly powerful, but But I will say 2025, in my opinion, leads either further away from me wanting to multi-class.
I would agree.
Like the capstone abilities have gotten better, except for so far. I would say Warlock, Ranger, and Warlock are the two lacking. And it's not even that the Warlock's ability is terrible. It's just that waiting to 20 level, not amazing. Now,
Yeah, so I would say most likely, Ranger and Warlock would be the ones that I would be more inclined to allow for some level dipping. With Warlock, um, you really only need to get to, what is it? Um,
14. I mean, unless you want your
14 is gonna 14 is gonna get you your subclass capstone. 17 is gonna get you your Mystic Arcanum. So
maxed
you have
out.
to decide, like, do you want your epic boon or not? Because, like, all right, you're gonna max out at 17th level. The number of cantrips, your spell slots, and your slot level have all maxed out at 17th. So you're gonna get one more invocation at 18th level. Um, So if there's something you can get for one level, uh 20 is not adding a huge amount, but
What
you
would
know,
you think of it if instead the changes it made to magical cunning was you get all of your spell slots back and it was at no action?
yeah, I mean I think that would be pretty great. Like, okay, I used my last spell slot. All right, at the start of my turn, I got them all back. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would be phenomenal. Um,
I think that
you
would have
know,
brought it on par with some of the other ones. You can still only use it once a day.
still use
Um,
it once a day, but just
and then it's like, okay, that's cool. No action. You just got back 20 spell levels, right?
yeah,
As opposed to now, it's like, well, if I hang out for a minute. But most of the time in games, like if you got a minute, you got an hour, right? Let's
right.
be real. Yeah. How often has it come, that it's like, oh, that we're that precise in our timekeeping. And as always, you know, uh, which Warlock subclass would you say would make the best villain? Because I feel like just Warlock alone itself makes a good villain.
Um, So I mean, yeah. Uh
They're just an
Honestly,
uber cultist, right? At that point,
yeah, yeah. I mean, all of them would work really well.
the Archfey would be
Uh
the most annoying for the players.
That's what I was gonna say. Archfey,
Yeah.
like they would be hard to tie down moving around the battlefield.
Yeah.
Um, but I think Fiend could be a lot of fun. Especially like if you put, minions specifically around for like them to finish off just to
Yeah.
buff themselves. I think that would be hilarious. Uh, I
Well,
think I
better
would specifically
yet
do.
is that putting minions around them that will kill the other minions for them.
Mm,
So they don't even have to take the action to do it.
mhm.
Or even even goblin bosses that can use the reaction to use another goblin as a shield. Matter of fact, even better, Fiend, Warlock, Goblin Ball.
There you go.
They they
Uh,
they don't get hit by the attack and they get temporary hit points. The low cost of one goblin minion.
I think I see something in the works there.
Yeah, it could be some fun.
So we got a couple minutes left. We are close to the end of 2024. So because of a number of health factors and other things going on, my Zoo Mafia game's kind of been on, a little bit of a hiatus. But we promise we are going to return in 2025. We will not be playing tomorrow night. So we want to, make sure everybody has a happy and safe new year. We want to make sure that we can be able to roll dice with you guys in the future. So please make sure you're happy and healthy and safe tomorrow night, and
Yeah,
however you decide
we were
to.
we were hoping to ring in the new year, not quite, with you guys tomorrow night, but that just isn't going to be a thing. But we are taking steps in order to have less need for us to cancel games. So
Yes.
hopefully, after the next game, we'll kind of get that in line and we'll be back on track. And then going forward, I think so. We're going to play a Zoo Mafia this time, right? And then
Hmm.
we are talking about running an old campaign of ours. I was talking about 5e, but I may even decide to do it in our own system. I don't really know yet. Both could be fun. So I don't know what you people want to see. Want to see us do more 5e, or which I've already run this. I've already run the other Skies game in 5e before, so it wouldn't really be a big deal to do it again. But also, we are very much interested in kind of tinkering with our own systems. So we might just do that as well and talk to the group and see what they think. Um, which obviously that's a little bit more involved, but got some ideas.
So yeah, After Skies is going to be the new game. And we'll figure out exactly what system that's going to be based off of what people are talking about and what we want to do. But we also have a appearance coming up in a very short amount of time, 2.5 weeks from now.
Yes, we will be at the Great Philadelphia Greater Expo Center for Page Two, Philly Gaming X. What is it? Philly Gaming.
Philly Area Gaming Expo,
Yeah.
page two. Looking forward to checking out a new convention. There's a lot of hype. There's a very active Facebook page for the group. So if you are on the East Coast or looking to head to the East Coast in this particular time frame, and you want to come back, check out the convention, see us and a large assortment of amazing folks. You'll have a lot of fun, I promise. Dave and I are both running some games, looking to do some hangouts, and you know, roll some funny shaped dice.
It should be a blast. With that, have a safe and happy New Year. Until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.